So, election's over. Danielle Smith is still the premier. And she gets to swear in her second cabinet. Her first cabinet, she inherited largely from Jason Kenney. She made some changes, removed a few, most notably Jason Nixon, who was kind of Kenney's right-hand man and who had inserted himself into the leadership race in I think, a way that most people found was grossly inappropriate. So he was out. And he was very unpopular with people who opposed mandates and things like that because he just seen as too close to Kenney. Rick McIver, a longtime PC minister under Alison Redford and Jim Prentice, and then under Jason Kenney. He was removed, although that was a bit more surprising. And he was the interim leader of the PCs after they lost the 2015 election. There were a number of changes. She brought in some, but it was overall more or less still kind of Jason Kenney's cabinet. Didn't want to rock the boat too much. I brought in Todd Loewen, who not only just came into the cabinet, but came into the caucus itself after being exiled by Jason Kenney. I don't want to get into the specifics yet. We're going to talk about individual ministers you expect to be in or not to be in. We'll start with you, Corey, on what you generally are expecting from Smith's first new cabinet now. Are you expecting more or less a continuation of the previous cabinet or something entirely new?
It's a tough question. I mean, whether she's going to want to make her mark now and break away now that she has a mandate or carry on. Because she's got a limited caucus now compared to what she'd had before, she doesn't quite have the leeway to really shuffle too much from before. I mean, we got some inexperienced caucus members. I think there's going to be some eye raisers in there, though. I mean, her relationships with different MLAs that are in there, that we're only just seeing development, because I do believe she's going to want to make this hers. As you said, she's been kind of carrying the remnants of Jason Kenney's cabinet for a while. She's going to want some distinctions in there that are definitely her own that she didn't have, I think, going into this election.
Nigel, how big a change? Of course, there's some changes necessitated. There are MLAs there who weren't there before, and there are some ministers who were in cabinet before but aren't there now. Kenney's cabinet was particularly urban, and in particular Calgary urban heavy, and that's where nearly all of the losses for the UCP in the election came from, was in Calgary. So by necessity, some of these people are just not going to be in cabinet. But how big a change are you expecting this cabinet to be over her previous cabinet, which was, in large measure, but not entirely, still had a significant number of holdovers from Kenney?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm expecting, and I'll tell you what I'm hoping. My expectation is, as you said, so many of the last group, the last cadre, have lost the election or retired from the game of politics. But out of the 24 cabinet positions that she announced in October, 8 of those are gone. So she has a choice to make a smaller cabinet, but it's not going to be an order of magnitude smaller, that you would only have 20. Some of those ministries just don't mesh well together. So she's going to have to come up with 20, 21, 22 names, I'm sure. And my expectation is that she will look favorably on the people who supported her during the run-up. Why wouldn't she? And then secondly, there are some interests that she has to satisfy. There's got to be somebody from Edmonton. The closest one would be a chap from Sherwood Park.
And the Morinville St. Albert. There's 2 really close ones, but there's also Spruce Grove, Stony Plain. They've got the whole donut around.
Somebody has to speak for Edmonton. Mm-hmm. So those 2 individuals have a very high chance.
2 or 3, actually. There's 3 kind of really close donut ones. So all 3 could end up in cabinet, I'd say.
They could. Yeah. So I'm expecting that. What I'm hoping for is a cabinet that recognizes that the fight is going to be on with Ottawa, because Ottawa wants the fight. And therefore, we need people with guts to go in there and stand up for Alberta. And I hope that that's a big part of how she makes her decision on who she puts in there.